Thank you. My pleasure to introduce Viktor. I think it's an interesting story because Viktor is actually from Mariupol, as I understand, or has worked there. So hopefully we can find out more about what exactly. And since 2004, Viktor owns his own creative practice or architectural practice called Zotov & Co. And Viktor is the founder of Can Actions, an architectural festival and a youth movement in the country that hosts contests, lectures, workshops, roundtable discussions and conferences. And as I understand, Viktor is also starting the first urban school in Kiev this September, or possibly even in Ukraine. So I'll hand over the microphone to Viktor.
Thank you. Maybe two words about our intention to make urban school. So it's not my language. It is not about Mariupol. I'm sorry, and it's about Telichka and it's Kiev place, and even not about urban school. I think it can be possible. It can be reason for next meeting.
Yeah.
I hope, because I see it's quite similar activities between us, between our moments. So today I'd like to show our last maybe 2 or 3 workshops, because you have workshops. And maybe even I don't think that I can say you and I can tell you no real new things, but I think it would be useful for you if I will be understandable. Just show what we do for now. Last year, this place, Telichka, this very important place for Kiev, it's about 200 hectares. It's middle point of Kiev, and we made 2 workshops, last year and this year. Last year it was, that workshop was divided by 3 groups. Head by 3 leaders from abroad. First was Jörg the Hollander, he's Hollander, and another one, Jimmy Nier from OMA, from France. And the last one is this team from Wonderland, you maybe know, it's Levento Polak and Daniela Patil. All teams was international teams and was selected by competitions. That is Telichka, it's Kiev center. It's very near to historical center of Kiev. So after this workshop, our team, connection team, and our bureau team make rethinking of this, and now I show you some common result. So, history of Telichka, as I said before, it was in 19th century just a field. It's place for cows, and I think it's not bad brand. I think it was our proposition to say this brand, the logo, Telichka. It's, but a little bit later about this. History of this place was like this: field. End of last 19th century was started to be industrial, mostly of wood industry. Before the war, Second War, it was totally industrial territory. It was wood industry and construction industry. And you know, just after Soviet Union and for now it's nothing. Almost nothing, but not real nothing. First place, maybe you know about last 2 years our festival was just in this place, at this place. And it's quite, we were not first. There is a global fest. It's maybe huge, it's maybe biggest cultural event in Ukraine for nowadays. And our festival and some more events. So that is maybe first hub place, cultural place. And even last year we made a small residential event, like resident, I know. Just on a bank, on this bay, on the river. So we see two variants of development of the territory, how to organize this. It can be like one big story was in Soviet style, where whole users of or owners of the territory will unite in place as one team and make it in one. Like one story. And another variant is step by step. I think in our case, we have only one choice, only this one. In any case, we hope to go to this story. So, about Telichka, about brand or logo, what is this? In our understanding, that is very nice. This place it can be placed to care. So, if it's a cow, it cannot be a meat immediately. We should grow this carefully. Even we research brands of this and think it can be not bad idea. So maybe one of our main idea, is this territory can be. We can start to think about this territory as a territory of happiness, because I think it's not a secret. You know, Ukrainian is not happy person, not happy people, and maybe it's a reason to start with this big point. And maybe Telichka can be first point, not first, but place from what we can start to make big changes in this sense, like this one. It's important to understand that potential client owners of the territory, and I know about that there are more than 100 owners or users of the territory. It's huge quantity. How to organize them? And maybe first of all we should explain them that it's a big story. It's not for 1 year, maybe for dozens of years, like in other examples. It's very important to invite world famous brands into this place, and our team understands that maybe our mission, not only for architects, maybe for all participants, is to be not demonstrator but moderator of the process. And it's very important to think positively. For example, this territory, if some of you come to, it's quite separated, in spite it's middle of the city, but it's quite separated, cut by road, it's no connection, no way to go by bicycle to this place, and so on and so on. But we can see some good things here. For example, it's possible to use this like this place 24 hours and 7 days. It can be noisy wind. If we see this is that old industrial construction, but it's authenticity. It's very specific place. If this is central territory, and you see this road along the river. This place is specific in that only one place. This is only one place, Telichka, which not cut it from the river bank. Another team of last year workshop researched just buildings, how to use these buildings. And it was quite a big analysis about opportunities how to do this. So we started to understand what is most important. What can we do first? First of all, we define this 100 green line along the river. Even according to our rules, we should make this. It should not be built. It cannot be built according to our regulations. So it's first of all 100 meters can be public, should be public, and we must. All the buildings in this line, not all, but a lot of buildings can be saved and renovated, revitalized in public sense. And we need, by all means, new kinds of activities, of public activities, like this and this. We made one more workshop 5 years ago. It was about, topic was the edge. It was 6 kilometers from this point, from this woman point, sorry, this one, to this point, this Telichka square. And our understanding was it's very important to explain for Kiev citizens that this edge from top platform and the hills to the river, it's like it's maybe 80% of all Kiev valuation of Kiev value just along this line. So our proposition was to make just pedestrian and bicycle way along this territory. In our case, Telichka is here to connect, to make prolongation this way to Telichka, riverbed. Even Telichka can be like one of the territories through which we can go along the river far in this case. This is Botanic Garden territory, and we understand that it's very important to reach this bay through the middle part of Telichka. It's our vision by what kind we can do this. If we connect this Telichka territory with connect city center with river through Telichka, we need this wide green corridor. Even we made one more workshop 2012, and it was another workshop was about islands, Dnipro Islands, and one of team proposed to make same connection. So this idea not new, but very important, and I think it's maybe like first step, one of first steps. Maybe you know Ole Baumann is quite famous in this in urban activities. He makes Shenzhen school in China. He was with lecture last year with us. Even we started to make school with him. So he explained that we need to invite maximum people to this moment and to understand this place as a culture place. This him explained that that is like difference, explanation of difference, our understanding, you understanding how to develop a territory from Soviet understanding, like general plan. General plan is one project for 20 years, for example. It's only one project for 20 years. In our case, it should be, each day should be different understanding. Each day, each month, each year. So, to feel this life is much important than to feel it with buildings. I'm sure you see a lot of buildings, but no life inside. For example, my house is here, just opposite this building, and I know in the evening no windows, light inside. So it's empty, no life at all. And you know this Moscow city. I think it's quite similar story with this huge territory, huge buildings, but not real life inside. But opposite, we know about hundreds story of revitalisation from Europe, for example, or from all over the world, where almost nothing built, but a lot of activities, a lot of life, a lot of happiness, a lot of comfort story. It's interesting. That workshop was a year ago, but last only 2 months ago. Between them, client and owner part of Telichka, one place of Telichka, make a commission for our bureau to make a concept of residential quarter, residential block. Our team made research from Europe, a similar object from Europe, for example, like Paris, Rive Gauche, Barcelona, it's London, and some other territories. And only one criteria, maybe I will explain that we try to understand what exact, what part, what percent from all the functions, what not profit function can be, and let's say a common useful function from all the function. And it's from 25 until 50%, it's not commercial function. I think it's very important for us because I know 100% all commercials buildings during 25 years in Ukraine. So, potential tenants, all these brands from Ukraine for last 10 years maybe. We can invite them into the story. Even some of them already like informal institutes, informal education institutes. We can invite them. We can invite also Ukrainian famous brands, even European. This year workshop, we made workshop about this same place. It was interesting. What is the difference of understanding how to develop this with different people, with different tutors? And at last, Theo Hovan, who was tutor this year, called last our work is explored the site. But this workshop was about developing of the area. That is about Ukrainian story now for now. How to design these circumstances? We said, no master plan. We don't need master plan. We need make little plans, maybe. What scenario we are really afraid? You can see with this mainstream how to build in here in Ukraine. It's big fence, it's all the buildings commercial or maybe nothing, just put it and save your money. But it's not about public activities, not about the city, not about society. And it's real story. It's 2 words about yesterday I had to make a presentation about Telichka. It was a new commission from architectural department, this municipality department. And it was one owner of Telichka already committed for them detailing plan territory, master plan. Let's call it master plan. And they already knows that territory about some hectares, maybe 10 or 20 even hectares, can be absolutely residential and very dense, very dense. So I don't know how to convince them in another way. So this scenario is very real. Once can explain this time we make researches. Our workshop team make researches for all this territory, and we can say that education, public activities, commercial, production, and residential already these activities already are on the territory, and even. If we look at more careful and detailed how it's represented, this kind of activities already exist, and we can help to do this, and we can develop just this function. For example, if we take wood production, now it's not really wood production; it's just warehouse for wood. We can make chair here, we can make production. Even we can make furniture shop and design festival. And in different fields of existing activities, we can do in this way, by this way. Summary of this year workshop was we created a platform to establish communities with an adaptive master plan. Last part of the presentation was about 2 years, half a year. Owner of another owner of Telichka asked us to make concept, of course, residential too. And we tried to understand how to start this 20 to 200 hectares territory, but he wants only 8 hectares. how to start develop this 8 hectares without understanding how to develop all. And he don't committed this 200 hectares. It was our initiative, and we made very simple but project about all this. First of all, we declare what is important for us on start point. It should be sustainable development of post-industrial areas, and it's clear for us it should be multifunctional and self-zoning. It should be accessibility. We understand that pedestrian is much important than car. You know about this line, about this corridor. Our territory is here. It is Batavia. It is river. He is owner of this territory, and our place in this case here. First of all, we looked at his territory where even his head office now. We made 2 years ago a commercial proposition for this territory, and even our bureau made a detailed drawing for this shopping center. This owner of shopping center agreed to make public territory, in spite of most of owners want to make fence and something especially for them inside, but he agreed this territory is public. So for us, it's reason to look at this territory as potential connected as green and connected with botanical and riverside. That is exactly his territory and his border of this territory only 100 meters from the river, but nobody knows about this. If we just destroy this fence, we look at picture like this. Activities can be like this, even Google Face and connection is already similar. We already made this. That is, as you see, is master plan, detailed plan about the territory made, as you see, in Soviet style. All this territory was destroyed, and not was, but planned to be destroyed and made like one big site same time. I think it's absolutely stupid idea. It's impossible. Maybe it's good, but it's impossible. Absolutely impossible. First of all, we can see this road. This is existing road. This is planned, and we made analysis and consulting with transport specialists. Do we really need this road? And because. And we know now, absolutely not need, because we should cut this territory like this, city from a bank, from the river, and this road goes from emptiness to emptiness now. It's no sense to make this. One more. You can see this 2008 workshop at Theo Hoben, who was curator last time in our workshop. It was proposition from him to make this podil, that is Telichka, this one. and this block structure was proposed by him, and even this proposition was included in the Kiev strategy until 2025. So we took this idea to take block structure to our place. We, of course, should look at building structure. And maybe the most important is border owner. This in red color. So we like this exercise to make same scale structure from different cities of the world and look how it looks. In our case, it's from Manhattan, Rotterdam, Vienna, Edinburgh, and we tried to imagine how transport artery can be on first stage. So same time we understand on each step we should go in dynamic master plan policy. So this structure is like approximate structure. With next step, this structure can be changed, making like reaction on different database. In our case, we have one more important place. It's a metro station. It's not work now, not working, but exists. If we understand that in case if we only started to develop this place, it's very easy to make to start to work with this metro station. And now we already know about these 4 or 3 places which can be like first the anchor points. You can see this is mentioned above pedestrian and bicycle connection. We proposed this transport ring, and we proposed a pedestrian street, like anchor of the structure. If you look in the general plan or in detailed territory, you cannot find any analysis, any researches about visual limitation. But we tried to do this. For example, we know about important places from what we can see this territory. And all this territory is not equal. For example, that is 8 of them, but it's different importance in different cases. So maybe this usually a bridge. When you come from east to Kiev, maybe the most important place to see Kiev through Telichka place. So this sector is quite important, and we made this section and see that these hills, Botanic Garden, for example, that is river, and that is bridge, the bridge. That is height, high-rise in meters. It can be like limitation of height. We decided that we should see as minimum this part, this top of the hills as above potential buildings. You can see this height. only from 20 meters until 80 meters. In our understanding, it cannot be more than this. So first of all, we can make height of these blocks is 20 meters, but some of them can be higher. This picture illustrated Manhattan rules. Alberto knows a lot about this man. Okay, I know about that during some centuries, American people was trying to understand what is the rule, how to make limitation, how to make differentiation, to make regulation of height, exact about height. And that is our client proposition. We made just visualization of what they want. And it's absolutely impossible in our case. It's not difficult to explain him. But how? It's our proposition in existing surrounding. Nothing new from of Telichka in Telichka place is if it's first place. If we make volumes extrude of these blocks according to our regulation, it can be like this. This is first block on 3 hectares. It's second part. This territory nearby bay can be saved as with old buildings. We're going through this bridge, Yuzhny Bridge. It's another bridge, Darnica. And we understand it can be absolutely in another way, but we should to start from some understanding. So for us it was important what is the buildings here. In our case it's only four levels. Yellow means civil buildings, civil rooms, services. And then blue, 4 levels of blue, is residential, different flats, different types. It's absolutely impossible, according to our understanding, to have car and to go by car to inside each, to inside block, to go inside of blocks. We go to the bank, same story, along this line, this wall, 100 meters from riverbank, and no cars at all here, only public utilities. My last recommendation, don't forget, enjoy Ukraine.
What was the comments from the client when you told them that you have essentially height restriction?
What were the comments from? That's weird because you also can hear yourself. From the client when he realized that there's a height restriction.
We have 2 microphones.
client, in this case, in last case, client of this 3 hectares block, residential block, was not opposite of this scenario. But now we have no commission according next step of the story. So it's difficult to understand what is real his opinion about. I think, first of all, it's difficult to make by not his main business was connected with Russia, and now it's broke. So in his case, it's quite special situation. But I mentioned above that there are another owners, and they want, especially now before elections, to make all agreements of their understanding scenario. It will be absolutely another story I know about, and it's a question for me to take participation in this collaboration with them or not. And during this week, I will see what are their proposition. First of all, I'm afraid that density will be 5 times more. Function will be 100% residential, no public program, no public line along the river, and so like this. Truly speaking, I don't know to that what to do.
It's just amazing that you did the study of the height. I think it's really important, but it's also really weird that it's the architect that's doing that instead of the city. Because I know in London there's viewing corridors, and those are the things that you have to absolutely obey. You can't build anything above. So the owners wouldn't even have a choice to go above whatever you're suggesting. So I guess the question is there a way to not even negotiate with the owners of the territory and go directly to the city and tell them this is the situation and you need to put in some kind of a... Sorry, this is like super idealistic, but...
Thank you. But I don't know even one person in the city council who can to start to talk about this.
Okay.
That building that you showed in one of the slides, the one that you looked at for your house, how did that get through?
You mean it's a reason to change my house?
No, I'm not saying that, but that really destroys that panoramic view.
Absolutely. I don't know what I can say about it. It's visible.
And it's empty.
It's absolutely empty.
Yeah. And the site, the site that you're proposing here, are the buildings still standing? The old buildings, they're all still there.
You mean what picture?
The site.
Site.
Yeah, the industrial buildings, are they all still standing up still? There's no demolition?
You mean now? Or
Yes, now.
Now nothing happens.
Just empty.
Absolutely.
Right.
No, not absolutely, but okay. It was interesting to find during the last workshop that we have small residential quarter here, and even the Chami community. It's understandable that it's not a rich person, but it's a real community. A lot of small children there, and quite clear places, and even children garden there, small children garden. So that is residential community. Some small industries, that is a real feature too, I think.
Yeah.
Some services like cafes and shops.
So an alternative culture is developing.
Yes, I think it can be like stakeholders of start point of development.
That's good. Have you got any views on Mariupol that we could hear?
What is the proposition?
Well, I would just like to hear your thoughts on the city.
Yes, you know, it's. I was thinking what I can propose, looking at our plans, and I'm trying to understand what is our result, what is your result of your workshop, what can be your result if you plan just Mariupol, happiness for Mariupol. I don't know from what point can I start. It's very interesting to look how you are making this.
Is Mariupol an unhappy city?
I'm thinking until nowadays that is prison.
A prison.
Yeah, prison. It's maybe a little bit real story because, for example, my family story is. One, my grandfather was departed from Khmelnytsk, it's west of Ukraine in 30s. Grandma was died during this deportation. Another grandfather, very similar like this. And almost all 8 years, story of Donbass was like this. It's deportation, it's migration, it's terrible stories. It's very, very similar like prison model. And what is, if you ask some person in Donbass, what is respect for you? I want to be strong, I want to be rich, and maybe nothing more. That is very dangerous intention. I don't know. Maybe it's difficult for me to make some concrete proposition because I'm inside until nowadays, and it's part of me.
I see.
But you were born in Mariupol? You were born in Mariupol?
I was born 40 kilometers from Mariupol. It was a German colony. Maybe 300 years before. My friend was Schulz, Wagner, Zeybert, and some Polish, West Ukrainian person. It's not really, even all of them was Ukrainian speaking person, Ukrainian speaking country.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite unexpected for Donbass, I think, for you. I was in this country until 6 years, and in the beginning of 70s, according to Brezhnev policy, all small villages was destroyed.
Yeah.
And this territory is only territory now above covered by Dana.
Oh, yeah.
So all until 40 years I was in Mariupol after that. So almost most part of my life.
Yeah. Okay. But just to go back to what Svetlana was saying, there is no height restriction in Kiev whatsoever?
Height restriction of what?
Of buildings.
Это теперь по Теличке?
Or here, or Telichka, or is there zones where it's restricted and zones where it's not restricted?
Есть ли какие-то вообще в правилах, да?
Да, в Киеве, да.
Okay. It's so funny. Only one thing I know about this question is 27.5 million. Nobody knows from what this number. It's 27.5. For what territory? Why exactly this number? Nobody knows.
27.5 meters.
27.5. Look around. It's recognizable, 27 and a half.
So basically you can build a skyscraper pretty much anywhere you want.
Right.
It's easy.
It's only it's Light knows, and the city council, architectural council knows about this norm, but you cannot find any right document, right way document which point is norm.
But this is the case not just in Kiev, everywhere, in every Ukrainian city.
Yeah.
I think this is the case in every world city. Where are we getting? It all depends on the amount of power that you amass to control different government agencies. Robert Moses in New York changed enough laws to build all the highways that he wanted to build crisscrossing New York City.
Yeah, but I mean, in London there are visual corridor restrictions.
Except for London, sorry. I'm just saying that, I mean, in a way, could one argue to the contrary that perhaps the restrictions and the regulations are one more way of homogenizing every single civic environment? Is there anything particularly wrong with having a 300-story building if the purpose or the function of the building was good enough?
No, I don't. I mean, no, the quick answer is no. But if it's something to preserve, then yes. And it doesn't have to be homogeneous. It can be very, very specific.
I mean, in Manhattan, obviously, the reason they created the zoning regulations was to prevent the rampage in the Wall Street area, right, where the streets were literally becoming canyons and tunnels, representing the brutality of capitalism, you know, all the time. But once they invented the, let's say, the regulation of the air right, then it's okay to go up, you know, you make sure that you have enough oxygen in the streets. And I'm just saying that sometimes the idiosyncrasies of a particular civic environment can just be buried under all this regulation.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
It's a bit like the presentation we saw yesterday, you know, it's a bit, it's this idea of homogenizing everything between the North Pole and the South Pole. I don't know what would be wrong about a 300-story building that would house, let's say, Greenpeace as an icon of, you know, the future ability of the planet. And then, of course, a few decades from now, we tear it down and build something different, no? Because maybe...
Yeah, it's not there forever.
But then those are exceptions in a way, no? Which we're talking about. But then what you're trying to say is that there should be no regulation at all?